for Ford has done something that no one thought anyone would do. Brought a European car to America. This is the 2011 Ford Fiesta. I'm JF Mutual, this is FL Detours, and we're in beautiful Northern California reviewing this. Now let's start off with a Fast Lane Daily Fiesta Rewind. This is not the first time that we have reviewed this car. In fact, the first time we reviewed it was actually the first Fiesta in the country. It was one of the Ford Fiesta movement cars, which actually meant it was a German spec vehicle. This though, this 2011 model, is what is being sold in the US. Now this model, the US spec version, is only a little bit different than what you would find in Germany or anywhere else in Europe. The front chin is a little bit different and the headlights meet DOT standards. I started off this episode saying that the world is coming to an end. In fact, it's not. Though there are some issues with our economy and with certain people in the financial industry, there are companies that are making the right decisions. Ford, for example, has created the One Ford plan. What is it? Well, you know, previous to this year, Ford has always produced different vehicles for different segments of the world. So Europe had their own cars, US had their own cars, and South America had their own cars. Al Mulally has finally made the decision that all the cars that are sold within the US and Europe are going to be sold everywhere else. So we now have a European car that was designed in Europe now being sold in the US. At the start of this decade, we lived in a world of excess. Our houses represented it big, our cars showed it big, monstrous, but that caught up to us. We now have to adapt to a society that we're not used to. Europe has had to deal with it. They had to adapt to smaller cars faster than we did. Now that we're in those times, that's why this car has come to us. Now for the US market for 2011, the Fiesta comes in two trim packages. You can either get the cheaper 4-door sedan version or this, the 5-door hatch. I prefer the hatch. It actually has a little bit more sporting cred to it. Off the lot, you're going to be spending about $14,000 for the sedan with a few options. And if you go for this, the 5-door hatch, you'll get up into the $15,000 or $16,000 range. Now when comparing this against the Yaris or even the Mazda 2, it is a little bit more expensive, but at the same time, you're getting a hell of a lot more. There's not much to be said about the design of this car. It's good, but it's been around for quite some time in Europe. So much so that they've already sold about 750,000 units. Ford went through great lengths to improve the quality of a subcompact car. Inside, you've got soft touch plastics. The steering wheel feels great. And yes, there are a lot of buttons up on this instrument cluster. But let me tell you, once you get used to it, it really all makes sense. Don't let it scare you. Yes, lots of buttons, but no, not complicated. Now, while talking about the center console, we have to bring up, of course, Forward Sync, which in my opinion is the best in-car entertainment slash navigation slash any kind of computer system you have in a car. Though it has a lot of features, and you may be thrown off by how simple it sounds, it really does a lot. And there are a lot of menus and there are a lot of functions within it that have taken me some time to learn about. Now moving down from Ford Sync and the center stack, you will find a 5-speed manual transmission. I prefer the manual transmission because, well, I like to drive. But of course, being that this is the American market and, well, I understand American drivers, Ford does offer a 6-speed automatic transmission, which is actually a dual clutch. Yes, a dual clutch in a Ford Fiesta. Both transmissions are mounted to a 1.6 liter, 120 horsepower inline 4 that produces also 116 pound-feet of torque. Now, with the automatic, you will get 40 miles per gallon. With the 5-speed, you'll get a little bit less because the gearing is a little bit different, but you'll still around 36 or 37 miles per gallon, which is still pretty freaking good. While we're talking about the interior of the Ford Fiesta, let's not forget the start-stop ignition and the optional heated seats. Optional heated seats in a Ford Fiesta, a subcompact, $15,000 with heated seats. That's pretty incredible. This being Fastlane Daily, I hope you recognize that there needs to be some kind of performance element to this review, and I will not shortchange you. Here you go. Now, the 1.6 liter, 120 horsepower, 116 pound-feet of torque, it's not a lot. I'm not going to say it's slow, but for a subcompact, it's all right. Going up big hills here in San Francisco, certainly you wish you had the extra power, and with the automatic transmission, actually you do get bogged down a little bit, especially if you're stopped on a hill and you're trying to get up. That may have something to do with the dual clutch automatic. But otherwise, once you get this car up to speed and with the momentum, it feels fantastic. One of the most fun aspects of this car is the turning radius. It's about 18 feet. It feels like you're turning on itself. I could do this all day. At this point, if you haven't figured out I've been lying to you, I don't know what to say. We are not in San Francisco or Northern California, we're actually outside of New York. We shot all the B-roll for this car about 4 months ago, and actually I finally got around to reviewing it here in New York. That being said, I've driven this car about 7 different times through California, through actually New York last year, through Death Valley, and I have to say it's one of my favorite subcompact cars on the market. I prefer this over the Mazda 2 or actually the Honda Fit, the Toyota Yaris. Yeah, you'll be spending a little bit more, but you're going to be getting a lot more quality. It's got a lot more features. The interior's the best in class by far, and you know what? It actually looks great.